grounds he is appealing on, or is it just automatic?
It is an automatic appeal. You do have to file a notice. When I started my career, you actually had to set out what the grounds are. That's not true anymore. So now what happens is you just file a notice. You then get an appellate attorney on it who then goes through the record and tries to find a basis to overturn the conviction and have a retrial.
Obviously, with him spending the rest of his life in prison, this doesn't really matter, but would your office consider charges for those prison letters, like another solicitation charge against him, or at this point is it kind of pointless?
If you heard the question she asked, he had obviously in court we had presented letters that he had written to somebody soliciting them to kill other witnesses in this case. We have turned that over to another office. We got a special prosecutor because I'm one of the named people in there. So we felt that obviously there would be a conflict of interest if my office reviewed whether charges should be filed. That's being reviewed by the 18th Judicial District, and that's strictly up to them.
Is it accurate that Frazee's family requested to speak at today's sentencing and that those requests were denied?
The what?
The members of the Frazee family?
I never heard anything about the Frazee family asking to speak today.
I think the
I know
Frazee
nothing
family
about that.
considers themselves victims as well, and so they say that they were denied being able to speak because you did not consider them as victims.
Nothing. That's brand new information to me. I think if the Frazee family had asked us, I'd tell you that, and what our reaction was. I haven't heard that ever before. I didn't hear that from the defense. The judge usually brings us back in chambers in the beginning if there's anything outstanding like that. I haven't. That's news to me.
Dan, could you have made the case against Patrick Frazee without Krystal's testimony?
It would have been extremely difficult. I think everybody acknowledges that Krystal's testimony was crucial to solving this case, bringing this case forward, and getting a conviction.
So this deal with the devil was worth it then?
Excuse me?
So was this deal with the devil worth it, he asked?
You know, the right person's serving a life sentence right now. He's the one who actually could carry out the murder. What he did was horrific. And so do I think she should have gotten a lot more time? You betcha. Do I feel bad every day that she only got 3 years today? You betcha. But in the end, we needed to solve this case. He needed to be held accountable for what he did. He's the one who brutally murdered this woman. So yes, I guess you could say it was worth it, but at the same time, Krystal Lee got off way too late.
Any update on the search for remains?
No, not that I'm aware of. That might be, and actually, Miles Young here would like to say something also. It might be an appropriate time, and I can come back for a question.
Thank you, sir. Miles Young with the Woodland Park Police Department. This is always a tough day when we have to come forward and listen to a sentence like this. It's not easy for anybody to swallow. What I look at is, did Kelsey have a voice today? And I think with her dad, Daryl, being able to not only write a letter with his wife, but to stand up in front of Judge Sells and to speak his mind, I think that held a lot of weight today. And also when Judge Sells started to describe his thought process and go through every single thing that Krystal had done in this case, I feel like Judge Sells took this to heart, and he was able to give her what he felt in his mind as justice for the sentence that he was handing out. So I don't believe that 3 years is adequate for what she was involved in by a far cry. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to bring Kelsey's back. And that's an unfortunate thing to have to deal with. We are always looking for additional information. To your question earlier, if new information comes up and we're able to follow up on it, we'll absolutely follow up on that information to try to recover Kelsey's remains. We do not believe she's alive based on this trial. We believe that we are just searching for her remains, but we have not located Kelsey's remains. That's one of the things I'd like to do, is to give her family some closure to be able to bury her daughter.
But there are no search efforts ongoing right now?
Correct. There are no active search efforts going on because we have nothing to go on that would give us any idea where we could be searching for her. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to talk?
It's 3 years and 1 year probation, correct?
It's 3 years and 1 year parole. Parole is mandatory after every sentence, and it's set. The sentencing scheme is set by the legislature, and they had 1 year parole on a Class 6 felony.
Is it possible she could get out sooner for good behavior or other factors?
Yes, absolutely. I got to tell you, again, it's an inadequate sentence. I guess I'm going to get off on a tangent a little bit here. Our legislature anymore does not give truth in sentencing. A 3-year sentence doesn't mean 3 years. The day she walks into DOC, they're going to mark her down as a 1.5 year sentence because they're already going to give her the good time credits for 50%. I have another bill in front of my legislature giving more good time. What we're finding anymore is it's not unusual for someone to serve maybe 25% of their sentence on a crime, no matter what it is. We just sentenced somebody for second-degree assault to a 10-year sentence that got out in a year and a half. We do not have truth in sentencing, and that's strictly our legislative guidelines. And it's one that I've been very proactive in. You're going to see me up in the legislature this year objecting to more credits that they're giving people. What the sentence you hear in the courtroom ought to be what the sentence somebody receives in their case.
Could Patrick Frazee?
But I apologize for digressing because
Could Patrick Frazee maybe get out in 50 years then, even if he had a 150-year sentence on top of life?
The life is life does mean life is life right now.
Okay, so
he cannot get any good time on a life is life. The solicitation charges, yes, he's going to be getting good time on those solicitation charges. I will tell you though, actually Jennifer Veman, we had a cold case homicide. It was a woman who was murdered and raped over in the Antlers. And back then it was a 10-year minimum before you're eligible for parole. She just went to the parole hearing and it's only been 7 years. Because the judge made it consecutive to the previous sentence, we now have a law that you get credit when a judge makes a sentence consecutive. They give you credit for the previous case and your new case. And so that's why he had a parole hearing after 7 years on a life sentence under the old law when it was a minimum mandatory 10. It's gotten to where it's just ridiculous that the public isn't being told the truth. And our legislature needs to change that.
And this is just a Colorado thing, right?
It's an absolute Colorado thing.
You've had 2 months to reflect since the Frazee trial ended. What's it been like?
I'm going to hold. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to get too emotional today. Quite frankly, I've gotten enough emotions as I think I can take today. It was a tough case to go through. It was tough on those jurors too. I know that. It was a highly charged emotional case for anybody in the courtroom, and I actually probably had a lot of effect on a lot of the people here because a lot of you sat through some of that testimony. It was a horrible, gruesome scene to hear the description of what happened. I don't think any of us understood the brutality until you heard the expert testify about how that death occurred. He deserves every day he got, and then some.
Miss anything?
Nope. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Thank you.
Thanks for making that happen.
Oh, thank you for making that happen. You're
Oh.